In order to work with objects in Maya, you have to select them. So let's take a look at how to select objects. We do it using the Select tool. So we can find that here in the interface. And if we hover over it, you'll see that the hotkey for that is the letter Q. Now, selecting can be as simple as left clicking. So if I left click on an object, it highlights and that tells me it is selected. If I want to deselect an object, all I have to do is left click outside of any object. In other words, left click on nothing, and that object will deselect. Another way to deselect an object is to select a different object. So if I select this chair and then go over and select this couch, the chair will deselect. Now, if I wanted to select both of them, I can, but I have to use the Shift key. So I can select the chair, hold down the Shift key and select the couch, and now both of these are selected. Now notice how the couch has a different color highlight than the chair, and that's because the couch is the last object selected. Now this can be important in Maya because sometimes the order of selection factors into the tools that you use. So if I were to continue to hold down the Shift key and select this other chair, notice how the green highlight moves. So if I select the table, again, that green highlight moves and tells me that is the last object selected. Now, if I want to deselect objects, I can do that again by holding down the Shift key. So if I hold down the Shift key and click on the table, the chair now becomes the last object selected, and I can deselect all the objects out of the scene. Now I can continue to hold down the Shift key and just select or deselect objects as needed. Now notice how that green highlight moves around depending upon which object is the last selected. Now another way to select objects is to use marquee selection. Now I'm going to go ahead and just orbit my camera around so that we're seeing these chairs pretty much face on. Now if I keep my selection tool active, I can left click and drag and draw a box. Now anything that falls within that box will be selected. So if I hover over these two chairs, they will be selected. If I hover over this chair and the TV set, those will be selected. Now we can also use Shift in conjunction with the Marquee Select tool. So if I hold down Shift and draw a box, I can select the other chair and the couch. And this also works for deselect. So if I hold down Shift, I can deselect by drawing boxes over objects. Now, if a box isn't quite the right shape, you can use a lasso. So right below the Select tool, we have a lasso tool. And this is very similar to lasso tools you'll find in any graphics package. All you do is left click and draw a shape over the objects that you want, and they will select. And again, we can hold down the Shift key to multiple select or deselect objects using lassos. Now, another way to select objects is to go into the menu. We have a select menu, and we can select all the objects in the scene. We can select all by a certain type, or we can deselect all. Now notice these have hotkeys, so Alt-D is deselect all, which is kind of a handy hotkey. We can also multiple select objects, and then if we want to, we could select the inverse, so everything but these objects. And we can also select similar objects, and that gets a little bit more complicated. So as you can see, there are a number of different ways to select and deselect objects so that you can work with them in Maya.